Bambi Palermo sat alone in her car, engine humming low, parked a block away from a dive bar on the south side where Nikki liked to hold court. Her fingers tapped nervously on the steering wheel. She wasn't sure if it was the stress of juggling too many lies or the way Caden had been looking at her lately, like he knew something. The glow of her burner phone lit up the dark cabin. One new message. Need you here, now. Nikki. Family first. She could hear her mother's voice in her head, sharp and unforgiving. Nikki had pulled her out of a lot of messes before, but this time the lines were blurred. She wasn't just covering her own ass, she was covering his and Goku D'Angelo's and who knows how many others. She exhaled hard, shoved the phone in her pocket, and stepped out into the night. Across town, Caden sat at his desk in the FBI field office, tapping through surveillance photos. He knew Bambi had been acting strange for weeks, canceling plans, disappearing for hours. He'd run her phone records, but everything was clean. Too clean. "Come on, Bambi," he muttered under his breath. "What are you hiding?" A knock on his door startled him. His partner, Jensen, poked his head in. "You coming to the briefing or what?" Caden waved him off. "In a sec." He turned back to the photos. One caught his eye, Bambi in a coffee shop, but she wasn't alone. Nikki was with her, head down, whispering. His gut clenched. Back at the dive bar, Bambi slipped into the back room, the smell of cigars and spilled whiskey heavy in the air. Nikki was there, lounging in a cracked leather booth, surrounded by his crew. "You took your time," he said, not looking up from his glass. Bambi slid into the booth across from him, her voice low. "You can't keep calling me out like this. Caden's on my ass and Goku's getting nervous." Nikki finally looked at her, his smile cold and sharp. "Caden's a problem. Handle him. And as for Goku, he's not nervous. He's planning his next move. You'd better make sure you're on the right side of it." Bambi's jaw tightened. "You think I'm not already? You're my brother. I'd die for you." Nikki's smile widened. "I know, but don't make me test that." She swallowed hard, the weight of his words settling over her. Back at the Velvet Lounge, Stash Cash leaned in close to Harlow as she sat at the bar, sipping a drink. "Boss," he murmured, "you're not gonna believe what I just heard. Word on the street is Goku's making a move on the docks. And guess who's been seen whisperin' with his crew?" Harlow's eyes narrowed, her pulse quickening. "Bambi Palermo," she said quietly. Stash nodded. "And she ain't just whisperin'. Her brother's pullin' strings, and she's dancing on 'em like a marionette." Harlow's lips curled into a cold smile. "Good. Let 'em dance. I'll cut the strings when the time's right." "I'm glad you're home tonight," Mrs. D'Angelo murmured, cutting into her meal. "Always," Goku replied, though his mind lingered on whispers of trouble brewing at the docks. But tonight, he chose to ignore it. Meanwhile, across town, Bambi paced her apartment. The walls were closing in, the lies stacking up too high. Caden was out. "Working late," he said, but she knew he was watching her. He'd always been good at reading between the lines. She stared at her phone. One call from Nikki, one whispered secret from Trock, and everything could blow wide open. Her pulse quickened. "Damn it, Nikki," she hissed under her breath. At the same time, at Harlow's club, Trock stood behind the bar, wiping down glasses while Stash Cash leaned against the counter. "You know you're playing with fire, right?" Stash said quietly, his voice low enough to blend with the bass-heavy music pulsing through the room. Trock didn't look up. "Fire's all I know." "You sure about that?" Stash asked, his tone more serious now. "Harlow's not stupid, and neither's Goku. When this blows, it's gonna get ugly, and you ain't gonna like where you're standing when the dust settles. Trock's jaw tightened. I'll handle it. You better, Stash said, taking a drag from his cigarette. Because if you don't, someone else will, and it won't be pretty. Back at the FBI office, Caden sat alone at his desk, reviewing files under the dim glow of his desk lamp. His gut told him Bambi was lying, and Nikki's name kept popping up in the shadows. He didn't have enough proof yet, but it was building. He picked up his phone, scrolling through the photos again. One of Bambi with Nikki, another of her slipping into the back room of a club. His jaw clenched. Something's not right, he muttered. Will Trock get caught? Is Caden onto Bambi? Is Nick the real puppet master? Will Harlow keep her crown? Tune in next week to find out on the next episode of Neon Noir.